Good morning, class of 2021. Mr. Ciarlino here. I just wanted to make a quick kind of video to be able to kind of highlight some of the stuff that are some of the important things that seniors need to know. We have a couple of times we've come into the English classes last few weeks in regards to college applications, fee waivers, Parchment, tip, FSA ID, FAFSA, all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to make a quick video about how to do each one of those. So if there is anybody that's interested, they have this opportunity to watch this video to be able to set that stuff up. So in this video, I will put in the descriptions about some of the timestamps about for each one of these things. So that way you can fast forward to each one. So you don't have to listen to the whole thing and kind of fish around for all of it. So the first thing is about college apps and waivers. Now that it's October, a lot of colleges are waiving their fees for applications. Students can apply for colleges for free. We'll kind of show you in a second about what you can do if you are free and reduced lunch, and what steps that you can do. So the first step, that if you are free and reduced lunch, we highly recommend going to lunchapp.com. So all students at Owosso schools have free lunch right now, but if in the past, before we had free lunch for every student, if you were ever labeled as free and reduced lunch, you would still have to fill out that application again to be qualified for some of the benefits. So what we do is you go to lunchapp.com to be able to apply for free and reduced lunch. So when you start the application, sit with your parent and fill out this information in regards to what school you go to, what kind of income, your household size, all that kind of stuff. And then that's how you would fill that out. If you do fill out a lunch app, let us know, let one of your counselors know, so we can kind of keep an eye out, because if you do qualify, then you have the ability to have a special benefits. So one of the benefit is our waiver for your SAT. So if you're interested in taking the SAT or retaking it, we have waiver forms for you to take it at a different location within the next couple months. So that would be an off-site location on a Saturday. We can help out students with that waiver if they're free and reduced lunch, how to apply, how to register for that SAT. So if students are free and reduced lunch and they need a waiver for an application, some applications are pretty pricey. So like U of M is $100. Michigan State is about 75. So it's a pretty pricey application. So what you do is on Google, you type in NACAC waiver fee and then PDF. So when you go to this website, say sometimes it's kind of hard to navigate. There is the second one. So this is a PDF. We have them in our office, but students are willing to be able to print them off at home. They actually fill out this top part right here, the personal information, what college they are applying to, and then they give it back to me or Mr. Zarowski, our career and college coordinator, and we fill out this information, check right here where it says free and reduced lunch, and then we fax it and send it over to the college. Students do not do that. We do it because we have to official sign it and stamp it. So that's important. So students can do that first and then apply. Sometimes colleges send a fee waiver code to their email. So that's why it's important that the student's email address is there. So the colleges will give them possibly a code to be able to sign up. So we really highly recommend students apply for many different kind of colleges, especially if they have the ability to do a fee waiver, so they can get, many options. We talk about having plan A, plan B, plan C, and then having them do the research and laying it all on the table. So in springtime, they can kind of make a decision about where they want to go. So after applying for colleges, students need to create what's called a Parchment account. So we go to parchment.com. And on this website, a lot of our students have already kind of created an account. We highly recommend students using their personal email, not a student email, because they can actually go back to, after they graduate, to go back to Parchment to send their transcripts if they choose to do a different route, or if they transition to a different college. So the student emails only exist until this year. Once they graduate, the emails disappear. For students that are in the 5th year college program, they can still learn how to do this. They still can set up their account with a personal email, and they can kind of practice. There is no penalty to send transcripts to colleges that you haven't applied to yet. So what colleges will do is they'll take that information about the Parchment transcript, keep it on file, and then when they get an application, they will kind of associate and attach it to that information. So for students who are new to Parchment, you create an account. You go down here, create an account for learners and parents or parents. So when you fill all this out, make sure it is your birth name, based on what it is, whether or not you're a parent. You see your birth date, your highest level of education. So our seniors' highest level of education completed would be 11th grade. Your personal email, password, if you want more information sent to you, and whatnot. So after you sign up, they'll send you to a page where you fill out like more personal information about your mailing address, your GPA. That's your profile. The profile does not have to be created in order to send a transcript. A lot of our students don't know what their unweighted GPA is. You can easily do it by going to your transcript and putting a number for every letter grade and calculating it. We can always help out too as well. But you do not have to fill out your profile to do this. So once you get to the next page, you click Parchment, and then when you log in, there has this little banner with a little plus in the middle. This is where kids get stuck, where they don't know where to go from there. So clicking that plus means you have to associate what high school you go to. So hitting that plus, you type in the next page, Owosso High School, and then it'll bring you to a page that says, when were you enrolled? When did you start? So the class of 2021 started in 2017, and they are graduating and finishing on May 27th, 2021. So they'll ask you what year. It'll also ask at the bottom if you want to waive your rights. So that's kind of complicated. What that means is that students have a right to be able to see transactions made about when your transcript is being sent over. So once we get a request, Ms. Pallone from our office, our secretary, sees that request and then sends it to the colleges. So that transaction from her sending it from us to them is a student's right to see that. So when it says waive, that means that you don't want that right. You don't want to be able to see that transaction being made. So that's up to the student. There's really no pros and cons, but I guess the pro would be to be able to see if that it's actually there. So once you do that, you fill out your personal information about waiving and not waiving rights. Then the next page will open and it'll have a little box, and underneath the box it'll say order. So students click order. They can type in a college that they're interested in sending their transcripts to. Again, it should be free. It's free for about 1.5 years. Once that period of time elapses, then it's about $3 to send your transcripts or to get a personal transcript that's official. So once they put order, they type in their college. Most four-year universities will say either undergrad option or graduate option. So it's very important that students look carefully about what college they pick, whether or not it says undergrad or graduate, because you want your transcript sent to undergrad since most are going for their bachelor's or associate's degree. So after they click that, they have the option then to say whether or not you send now or hold for grades. Students will send their transcripts 3 times a year. One right now, one in February, end of January, February, and then one in July. So colleges know that high schools usually don't finish until their first semester about the end of January. So they understand that transcripts will be a little later. So January, February is about right time. So when you do that, if you send your transcript, if you want to send now, the transcript will have every grade from freshman year to end of junior year. It will not have senior grades, and colleges know that, and that's okay. So what you do in Parchment is there's an option to send now or hold for grades. You want your transcripts sent now. So that'll be to be sent from our building to the college right now. The option for hold for grades is if we have not finished a semester yet. So this is for students who've already applied, who've already sent their transcripts immediately for the fall, and then maybe during the winter in December or January, if you want to get a heads up and give Mrs. Pallone a notification, a heads up, you apply or you ask for, you request your transcript, and then you put hold for grades. So hold for grades is a way of saying, well, when our grades and transcripts are finalized, I want you to send my transcript. Send now always means this very minute, put my transcript, what it looks like right now, and give it to the college. So make sure that if you want the first semester grades of this year, you either do it in February for send now, or if you do it earlier, you say hold for grades. And that would be the same thing for June, July. If you do it in June, you say hold for grades, and July would be send now. So that's Parchment. So again, you don't get penalized for sending transcripts out to colleges you haven't applied to. Colleges will put them off to the side and put them in a file and wait till they get an application. Next one is TIP. TIP eligibility. TIP is what stands for Tuition Incentive Program. It is a special program for students who were under Medicare or Medicaid, excuse me. So Medicare, if they were 2 years when as a child had Medicare, then they're qualified for this TIP program. So to see if you're qualified to do TIP, you go into Google and type in MISSG portal. And on the top link, this is the government website. And you go down to MISSG student portal. So we get a list of students that qualify for TIP. We have access to see if the student is qualified. So for a tuition incentive program, this is for kids who are maybe interested in going to community college or four-year university, and the state will help out with tuition. And sometimes for students who go to community college, it could mean a full ride for those 2 years. So for students that are like at Mott or U of M or LCC, that money goes towards their 2 years, and sometimes they get the majority of that tuition paid for. So it's a great program. Every year we get less and less students that qualify. Last year we had 100 students. This year we have only about 26. So most of us have been kind of like notifying students that, hey, you're TIP eligible, but you can find out whether or not you are by going down to here on this link down here. So you don't have a username quite yet. So you click this part right here to be able to create an account. So it says to create an account, you must have a FAFSA on file or a tuition incentive program record. So for this part, this record, that's the 26 students that we have. For FAFSA, if you're not qualified, it's probably best to do your FAFSA on file. Either way, you can create an account, and we'll tell you about the next step after this to determine if you are TIP eligible. So what you do is you fill your username, first name. You do have to put your social security number. This is a government website, so they already know what your social security number. They just need to associate a name and a number and records to be able to see if you are TIP eligible. Again, make sure you use a personal email address so you can access this account after you graduate high school. You create a password, and then you pick an avatar. So one of these pictures. So that way you can kind of recognize and see if this truly is the account that you're associated with. So make sure that you remember what avatar you pick, acknowledge the terms and conditions, and then you put create my account. Anytime that you create an account, Parchment, TIP, FAFSA, make sure that you document and write down all your steps, all your usernames, passwords, and all that, so you can go back to it and just kind of act, so you don't have to kind of fish and remember. So so after you create your account, there will be a window that pops up about right here, little window, and it's either green or red. So if it says green, that means that you are TIP eligible. If it's red, that means that they need to have you do your FAFSA to see if you may be qualified. So once you have your FAFSA on file and you have this account created, they will merge all that information, and then you can go back to it and see if it's changed or it's updated. So after you create your account, that window pops open, click out of the window, and it'll have your profile. Once you know what you want to do and what colleges you want to go to or college you decided to go to in spring, you fill in the college and then you submit your application. So all that information will be sent to colleges, and then they will contact you based on your information about what scholarships, what grants, what loans they can offer you on your college, at your college. So that is TIP eligible. If you want to know if you are TIP eligible, you could always email me and I can kind of give you the information. But we have that on record as well. But it's beneficial for everyone to do it just in case there may be free money for you to do. So other than TIP, we talk about FSA ID. So to create an FSA ID, you go to fsaid.ed.gov. So the FSA ID is specific for students who are doing their FAFSA. So the steps that I'm going to be showing right now is how to create your account. It is not to finish your FAFSA. So this is the very first step in creating your ID to then start your FAFSA. So what we do, these steps, very important that you write down all the information, your username, password, and there's going to be like security questions just in case you do forget your password. So it's important to write everything down as necessary. And again, make sure that it is an email that's a personal email, because when you're in college, you will have to do the FAFSA every year. And even though you may not qualify for this year, things happen, taxes change. So if some things happen in your family where all of a sudden income is lower, you may be qualified one year and not qualified for the other. So it's important to do it every year to see if things change, especially based on the economy and whatnot. So to create your username, you go down here, and I can only go so far because I have my own ID and I can't show you each level of the screen. So for students have to create this ID, parents also have to do the same steps as well, because in order to do the FAFSA, a student and his parent need to work together and sign off by putting in their FSA ID. If a parent has already created an FSA ID, maybe with another child or within themselves, then they don't have to create one. Now, If it was before a time where we had the internet, maybe it was a paper form, or maybe it was a different type of site. Best thing to do is to try to create one as a parent, and it'll tell you whether or not you already have an ID. Most people who have gone to college before 2010 probably didn't create it online or before then. So it's best to be able to manage your FSA ID if you've already created it before that time. Okay, so you create your username. Password is very important because it says you have to have a number, you have to uppercase letter, lowercase letter, and then it has to be 8 to 30 characters long. So after you type this, you type in again to confirm. So when you push continue, the next window will be putting your name. It has to be your birth name. Make sure it's capitalized letters. Don't use abbreviated names. So if your name is Alex, but your original name is Alexander, make sure Alexander is the name that you put down. Make sure that you type in your social security number accurately. So that'll bounce back if you don't type it in accurately. So after you create that, you will ask some questions about security questions, what email address you're going to use. Again, make sure it's a personal email. Make sure that you're at a place when you're doing this where you can access your personal email and possibly have your mobile phone handy, because you will have to confirm your email address by checking your email or checking your phone to be able to confirm your cell phone. Both of those are needed to be able to confirm, because they want to double check and make sure that is something that you're using, because they will send emails to you through FAFSA once your FAFSA is completed. If maybe there's something wrong with your FAFSA, maybe you forgot your passwords, your username. So that's very important that your personal email is correct and you have it accessible so you can confirm it. Same thing with your cell phone. You have to make sure your cell phone is charged and ready and you have it by you. If you don't have a cell phone, then make sure it's a parent's cell phone, and that you have it by you so you can confirm your account with it by that. So write down all the security questions. They'll ask you some questions. You can pick which questions you want and then the answers that are associated with it, like what street were you born on. That way, if you forgot your username again, you can come back and then answer those questions and it'll retrieve your passwords for you. So once you completed this, once you confirmed your email and your cell phone, that's when you kind of, you're finished with it, but it's not the finishing of the FAFSA. This is just like the key that kind of opens up the FAFSA. So be aware also too that if you have to confirm your email, that sometimes that email from FSA ID does go to junk mail or it does go to clutter. So make sure you look at junk mail, your clutter email, just to make sure that it was sent there. Sometimes it takes a couple minutes. It does take a couple minutes to confirm, since the traffic right now through the FSA ID is pretty heavy, because a lot of students are applying for FAFSA right now. So once you have your FSA ID, make sure your parent goes through the same steps as well to create your ID. Have everything written down for both of you. Once that's ready, you can go to FAFSA's website. So FAFSA is a little bit similar or a little bit different than the FSA ID website, but it's FAFSA.ed.gov. FAFSA is something that doesn't get completed within just an hour. It's something that you can work on a little bit at a time. There's a student portion and then there's a parent portion. Make sure that you save periodically, and then when you're done, you exit, so it's officially saved, and then no one else can log onto your computer and mess with it or tamper it if you leave it open by mistake. So, so when you go onto this website, It could be just maybe a couple minutes within just finishing your FSA ID. Sometimes it works that quick. Sometimes it takes a day. We don't know why. It does sometimes. So what you're going to do is, if you're new to the the FAFSA process, you click Start here. And then you have the ability to log in as a student or as a parent. So either way, you have to have your FSA ID. So there's your username or email, and then your password from what you just created from the FSA ID website. So once you push next, it'll direct you to what year what FAFSA you're working on. So sometimes students make the mistake and work on this current year's FAFSA. So that's for students that are currently in college. So for students that are looking for the next year, you go to the 2021-2022 school year. So once you click that, it accesses that FAFSA and you can proceed to that. Again, I can't log in because I don't have an ID. I'm not creating a FAFSA. My ID is from the old school paper form, so I can't log in this one. So for students who do log in, 21-22 school year, and then the next site is it'll go through a couple steps. Again, halfway is the first student part, and the second half is the parent part about income and taxes and whatnot. At the very end, there's a place where students sign and the parent signs just to confirm that everything is legit and valid. Very important for you to read all the legal aspects of it. So just make sure to read through the end. There's a lot of myths about FAFSA. So I know that some students say that because their parents make too much money, that they shouldn't have to do FAFSA. We really highly recommend it. Some colleges require students to do FAFSA in order to get scholarships. In another video that I made, we talked about the Shiawassee Community Foundation. They actually require students to do FAFSA, have them print off the FAFSA summary after they're done, and attach that to their application. So it's very crucial for students who do want scholarships based on any kind of parent income, family income, that they need to do FAFSA. It does take a little time, but it's worth it. Be aware too that if you start your FAFSA and you fill half of it, but leave it sitting for several weeks, maybe a month or two, that it will start from the beginning. It'll erase. So please make sure that if you do start your FAFSA, that you kind of finish it within a week. So you can get it done, finish it, and then don't have to worry about it. So when you log in, we said pick the 21-22 school year, and then have you proceed to continue, and then you fill out your personal information about if you're what your marital status is, what's your address that you're currently living at, and then it'll talk about what high school you went to or are going to, and then it asks you from the next screen, what colleges do you want this information sent to? So I believe that you have about 10 colleges that you can pick to be able to choose for what that information goes to. So it'll ask you to search by the state, the city, and then it'll give you a listing of all the colleges in that city, and then you can click and add it to your column of colleges. So once you feel like you have all your colleges listed, then you can proceed on to the next step. Again, you can save it, you can come back to it, but make sure that when you submit it, that those colleges that are listed are all of them. My suggestion is if you have any kind of inkling of any college that you want to go to, community college or four-year university, please put it down because once you submit it, you can't necessarily sometimes go back and fix it. There are ways to go back and update it, but that will just only prolong the information of the colleges sending you stuff back. The earlier you get this done, the better, because sometimes that the quicker you do it, then the colleges will then eventually send stuff back within, you know, around December, January time, which is a great time to kind of use that time to figure out where you want to go. So it's that whole idea about putting it all on the table to say, well, I like this, they're offering me this is great, that kind of thing. So it's important to kind of put all those colleges down as well. So after you put all the colleges, then they will say whether or not you're going to live at home, if you're going to be housing, if you want housing. My suggestion is if you want to live in a dorm, make sure you click housing. It's probably best to do it just to see what they offer you, because you want the whole picture about housing, how much it'll cost, about the food program and whatnot. So that's very kind of crucial. So after that step, there's a couple other steps that kind of lead towards the parent information. Make sure, even though it says it's from the student, make sure you have a parent there to be able to kind of guide you, because it'll talk about parent 1 and parent 2. And depending on if it's a one home or dual home kind of situation, parent 1 usually is the parent that is the provider, does the taxes and puts this student as a dependent on their taxes. So they'll talk about assets, they'll talk about if there's any kind of funds that are being opened for that student, or any kind of accounts, special assets that are going to be helping to tribute to college as well. So that's important to be able to put down as well on your FAFSA. The taxes that they'll be looking at is the 2019 taxes, the one that we just filled out just this past couple months. So they will be looking at those taxes. And then what we're going to do is, once you fill that out, there is the IRS retrieval tool. So some families are able to use this, some are not, but the IRS retrieval tool will connect to their website, and they actually can upload your information and put it in your FAFSA. Back in the day when we did it paper-wise, we had to have our taxes there with us, beside us, to be able to do it. So it's pretty important to make sure that you have those accessible so you can be able to fill out and do your FAFSA there. But the IRS retrieval tool is great. It uploads, and once that happens, you can then sign off and finish it. Make sure that you double check, you look through your FAFSA to see if everything is correct. And once you submit it, they'll give you a summary. And it's probably best idea just to print that summary off to have it, because you may need it, like, again, for scholarships, to be able to attach to applications. So you will probably get an email for your both parent and you to confirm the completion of your FAFSA. We highly recommend that you log in once every other week just to double check to see the process. If something's missing, we've had students in the past submit their FAFSA, and then we find that they maybe were missing something, or they said, oh, you forgot something, it didn't process correctly, and they might have missed the email. So don't wait till the spring to double check your FAFSA, because they will probably try to notify you if you have to correct it or send something back. So just double check and continue to look and log into your FAFSA just to see if things have changed. If you have any questions, this pretty much ends the video. But if you have any questions, please contact me. My number is 989-729-5500, or you can email me at Ciarlino at owosso.k12.mi.us. Everybody have a great weekend.